During the Veterans Day program in November of 2017, keynote speaker Michael Breifogel challenged our students to sit down with veterans and to get their stories. He emphasized that if these stories aren't captured now, they'll be lost forever. History teacher Mrs. Basinius took this to heart. After a little brainstorming and a little recruiting for the technology side, this podcast was created. These are strictly audio files you'll have the privilege of listening to the next several weeks. I know that even as these episodes are being edited and produced, Mrs. Basinius and her crew are planning improvements and changes to this project. I appreciate and commend our students and Mrs. Basinius for their desire to take on a project of this magnitude. Welcome to the first in a series of interviews conducted by Ridgeview High School's Modern U.S. History class. We begin this series with interviews from men who served during the Vietnam War.
My name is Jaeden Albers, and I am a senior at Ridgeview High School. On February 21st, 2018, I had the honor of interviewing my grandpa, Marc Albers, for my Modern U.S. History class project. Grandpa enlisted in the National Guard when he was 19 years old. In May of 1968, he was sent to Vietnam. He was 1 year older than I am right now. Thank you for checking out our interview.
My name would be Grandpa Marc Albers, and I was probably approximately, I'm going to say, 19, and I joined the National Guard in ID Grove, Company C, and then we got activated May of 1968.
How long were you in Vietnam, and what was your rank?
I was in Vietnam approximately 30 days, and then I was supposed to be there. I think I had to go, like our National Guard unit was going to be out of active duty. I think I only had to stay maybe like 6 months but then I got hit by a booby trap, so then I got to leave. And my rank got to be an E4, but I was a naughty boy. And at Christmas time, a lot of the people that had wives and stuff, they went home on leave. So some of us decided, hey, we'd hold the fort down in Fort Carson. And then we decided on New Year's Eve maybe we'd run home quick for New Year's Eve. And one of our sergeants happened to be there and seen us. So then I got what they call an Article 15, and I got from E4 back to E3.
Where were you stationed at in Vietnam?
I was in what they call the Mekong Delta, and that is South Vietnam, and I was with the 9th Infantry Division.
What were some fun things you and your friends did together while you were deployed?
Well, they would have a poker game, and they would have, you could drink a little bit of beer at it when it was open there, and they had a few slot machines, and that's about what we did. Probably the most fun I had with the people I was over there with, one, I don't remember if it was a couple days, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. We were guarding a bridge, and there was like maybe 10 of us on duty, and the rest of us swam in the river. It was kind of a good time. But then I remember we were swimming, and then here come some Arvins with North Vietnamese or Viet Cong tied on a pole. I don't remember. I think it was somewhere between 4 and 6 that they come across the bridge with. They had dead North Vietnamese, so that kind of ruined the swimming, but
yeah,
we had a good time diving off the bridge and goofing around.
Could you describe your interaction with the civilians in Vietnam?
Well, they some worked in the mess hall where you ate, and some of them did jobs around the camp, which I don't know beings like you have Viet Cong and you got the South Vietnamese. I sometimes wonder who was who, in there and stuff. But one time I do remember we were out, we got dropped off with Huey helicopters, and it started pouring down rain. So then it was in kind of a village, so we all went over to different hooches where they lived, and they were kind of maybe, I don't know if they were scared. They were nice. We went in there but I kind of pointed at a coconut and they slapped that off, broke it, and let me drink some coconut milk. I remember that. And then one of them big, what do they call them? The great big Chinooks, the big helicopters that could pick up tanks and do whatever. I think instead of the Hueys, I think there was like 30 of us loaded on that Chinook, and they took us out. It went in, the rain let up just a little bit. So as far as interaction, that was probably the extent of it,
What were you treated like when you came home?
We were treated very good in Northwest Iowa. Now, you see a lot of stuff where, at airports and stuff, and I think probably a lot of them people didn't get treated with a lot of respect, for going. But here in Northwest Iowa, we were treated great,
As my grandpa, what is something you want all of us grandkids to know about your Vietnam experience?
Like I say, I think we did our job that we was sent over there to do. I want to tell you about the day when we went out, the day I hit the booby trap. I seen the tripwire. I seen a rusty old beer can. Okay, when you hit that, it's either going to go off in 15 seconds or it's trip release. I seen I was on it. I threw I had C4 plastic explosive on my back. I threw them out to the side, yelled at the other people, and dove. And then if you guys could do something for me out of Cedar Rapids, Iowa, they dust you off, is what they call it. A helicopter come in, a medvac,
Yep.
It's a dust off. There was a medic out of Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and I'll tell you what, I was saying the Lord's Prayer in that helicopter, and he was saying it with me, and we had talked, he's from Iowa and stuff.
Yep.
I'd like to know his name. So you're in charge of you and Kenny and them.
Do our
going
best.
on Facebook, finding out his name if he's still alive. That would be cool.
Yeah.
Jaeden and his grandfather were very straightforward and open during this interview. We wanted to know more about the booby trap that Mark had referenced twice already. Here's what he had to say.
As soon as I stepped on it, I knew I'd stepped on it, and I was getting, you're either going to keep walking and it'll probably go off when, say, the second or third guy behind you hits it, or, if you when you get off of it, it's going to go off. And I don't know which way it was to this day. But when I was dusted, you spent some time in the hospital in Vietnam. But then I went to, I think it was Yokohama, Japan, and they make sure you're going to live. You don't know if they're going to, send you back in a body bag or if you're going to be okay. So they send you there to stabilize you. And somebody told me over there I was like the first of 13 got, hit or killed that day. So we was in an area we shouldn't. They marked like booby-trapped areas.
Mm-hmm.
Why they always go through there, I don't know.
Yeah.
But most of the time when I was there, we took sniper fire one time. But they called the helicopters Hueys. Like, I want to tell you this. The first time we had just got a bunch of hours for the helicopters where they'd drop you off. And I can remember, like, they didn't, roll out a mat for you to get off. They would go and they'd keep moving and you'd dive off and hit the dirt. Then when we took off, I remember going and we got in this water and the water was up to here with my weapon up here. And I'm thinking, oh, God, what did I get myself into here? Then we come out of that water and we was laying down, and Cobras, they're like helicopters that got guns, and it's like, probably as big a area with trees and stuff as big as both our groves. And I mean, when we went in there, there's trees laying over and that, but they had a kill count, I think, of maybe 4 or maybe 5 that day. But there's nothing alive in there when we got there. The helicopters did all the work. So, man, another thing, our politicians, to promote how good the war was going, in the mess hall they had a thing with the kill count, and we laughed. That was always overinflated,
Mm-hmm.
If you knew of 4, they'd probably have 24 up there. Different companies. They would, that way they could, back home here, they could tell the citizens how good the war was going when it probably wasn't going near that good.
Without expecting this answer, we asked the question, what happened when you stepped on the booby trap?
Blew my leg off. I lost a leg over there on that. Yeah, no, and I was lucky that I got on the one I didn't lose. I got a lot of damage, but it, I was lucky to keep that one. So, but when I went from Japan, or from Vietnam to Japan, and then to Oakland, California, which is right across the river from San Francisco. Then I went to Fitzsimmons, and if I felt sorry for myself that much, as soon as you went into that hospital and you seen double amputees and 2 with 2 legs off and an arm off, if you felt sorry that much, you didn't. After you seen all them, you knew how lucky you were, I was a below knee amputee, and if you got your knee, you get along pretty good. So, but I remember another thing, and Grandpa, my dad, when I was in Japan, finally I got a phone call there, and I figured they'd been notified, So I called home, and then they didn't know anything about it. I said, I just lost a little bit of a foot and stuff, and tried to really downplay it because I didn't realize I was the messenger, They didn't know about it before. So, but then out in Fitzsimmons, I had a lot of company and stuff. And so it made you feel you really didn't want a lot of company, but it still made you feel good to have a lot of company, show up. So, and I remember when my dad come out, we went down there out of the hospital. They wheeled me down on the grass there and stuff, and he was just looking sick, and I had to kind of, how I'd do it, joke around a little, get him so he wasn't too depressed, But then out there in Fitzsimmons, wow, they treated us. We was like in a barrack. After he got out of the main hospital, it was getting better. Then he was like in a barracks. And like the first few days, they would help dress the leg and stuff like that. And they had so much going on. Then pretty soon, you were doing your own, Hey, you get in there. And then I can remember like Grandma's job down at the nursing home, being playing bingo and stuff. Well, we had a gal. She had Bronco tickets. She had people that wanted to, with swimming pools, the rich people. They wanted you to come over, and you had beer and pool, I remember. Never did go to the Broncos game, but I'm sure we'd had great seats, but we were.
Mark explained a little more about what happened after the dusting off procedure.
But they morphine you pretty heavy, so kept a lot of, pain away or whatever. So, and I can remember vaguely, and I think it was a general when I was in the hospital in Vietnam, comes around with the Purple Heart, which you get if you're hurt in action. And I thought, get out of here. I don't want no Purple Heart, But as far as being bitter, I don't think I got real bitter. And as far as Northwest Iowa, they treated us great, with respect when we come back.
Mark's concluding statement:
be proud to be an American, People are pretty good.
A special thank you to Jaeden and Marc Albers for taking time to record this interview. Thank you, Marc Albers, for your service. Next time on our podcast, Ezra Miller and Jake Tolkheim interview Dave Scott.